service today, we are seeing an orgy of privatisation as companies come in and make billions of pounds worth of profits on the back of the workers who they treat so disgracefully. The Ministry of Defence last week announced the biggest privatisation in civil service history by handing over all training of our military personnel to a private company. The price that PCS members will pay will be 2,500 mainly low-paid women workers to be transferred into an immediate compulsory redundancy situation. The government should hang its head in shame, and we will fully support those workers who will now have to fight to defend their jobs. We have seen privatisation of the New Deal for the disabled, the Public Trustee's Office. We have seen privatisation of the support services of Gordon Brown's Sure Start policy, fighting poverty for children in the community. A privatisation that is costing 4 times more to the taxpayer than it cost when it was done within the civil service itself. One of the things this government did a few years ago is to privatise the very buildings that people who administer tax and customs actually work in. The people who collect tax on behalf of the people of this country now work in buildings, sold off at an absolute snip to the private sector, who are based in Bermuda and do not even pay taxes for the profits that they actually make. Can you fathom it? The people who collect the tax working in buildings owned by a company who avoids paying tax in Bermuda. But let me give you another example that really exposes privatisation to its core. In 1999, one of the first promises broken by this Labour government was to privatise the Department for National Savings. 4,500 civil servants handed over to Siemens Business Services, we were told, because they could run it more efficiently. This is the same Siemens Business Services who bid for the contract at such a price that they could not make money, who have twice been to the government and twice been allowed to offshore 500 former civil service jobs to Bangalore, where they pay 1/5 of the wages, and the company has recouped £100 million worth of losses. Now, colleagues, I think this is corruption. But there's another scandal we need to expose today. Because as we fight against the consequence of 100,000 civil service job cuts announced by Gordon Brown in Parliament in 2004, we need to expose the fact that he is spending more money on private sector consultants in Whitehall than he is saving from those people's jobs that he is cutting. In Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, £105 million saved in 1 year by getting rid of staff, and in exactly the same year they spent £106 million on private sector consultants. £7 billion a year across the public sector, and £70 billion spent by this government since he came to office on private sector consultants. So let me translate that to what it means in the office. Department for Education and Skills cut 38% of civil service jobs. They then realised that they cannot deliver the functions that they're actually there for, so now they brought consultants in. And PCS members now sit opposite a desk, seeing a consultant doing the job of the person who was sacked, but being paid 10 times a day more salary than the civil service. The PCS members have just voted by a large majority to start a campaign of industrial action starting next Wednesday with a national civil and public service strike to defend jobs and defend services and oppose privatisation. Every union who cares about public service in this country, I think, should plan the next stage of this campaign. We should have a national demonstration through the streets of London showing the government is change their mind. If a national demonstration doesn't make them change their mind, just imagine what a powerful message it would be if there was a national day of action of all public servants in this country.
The work at Sapphire House is what we call direct frontline support. All those guys behind me, which number almost 500, are involved day to day supporting troops in Iraq and Afghanistan with everything they need, from things like battery, a screw, a washer, right up to a rocket system or a tank even. And every day they are procuring those items to make sure the troops get what they need. The civil service footprint in Telford is tremendous. Outside of London it's probably the biggest. There's over 4,000 civil servants work in Telford alone. 2,000 of those working for the Ministry of Defence. just on the fringes in places like Cosford, Shawbury and Turnhill, we've got another 3,000. So in Shropshire as a whole, there's 70,000 defence workers alone. You add that into the other government departments such as HMRC, Land Registry, Justice Systems, etc. There's absolutely loads and loads of people who are going to be out of work, and Telford as an economy will be decimated because Telford was designed to be a town of government work. All the people at Sapphire House will be made redundant sometime before 31st of March 09, and then at that point everything will be established in the Bristol area at a site called Abbey Wood. We thought today was very important as a forerunner to Wednesday's Day of Action, but also just as a G up to people who are obviously under severe threat in Sapphire House at the moment and are obviously not feeling in the best of minds, and we just thought this was an opportunity to get together again, just to feel that we are together on this and are still fighting the fight.
What is happening in the MOD is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace, and the risk that they're taking. And look at the impact it's having on Shropshire. What has happened to this local area is devastating. We're interested in being civil servants at Cosford, and that's what we're fighting for. And none of us are going to go to Wales. It's the same in your position. We can't afford to move to Wales. We're fighting to stay at Cosford.
Sapphire House is not alone. In Shropshire we've got the HMRC, the DWP, Cosford, Sapphire House itself, all being hard hit. But across the whole of the MOD there's mass privatisation. There's some 37 different PFI projects going on. We've got members who are actually drawing benefits while they're issuing them to those who are unemployed. We've got people who are on pensions who are drawing pension credits to top up their pensions because they're unsatisfactory. The 31st of January is about all of those things.
Any press coverage or radio coverage, get straight on the phone to the campaigns.
Yeah, I sent
have
the
you got
press
their
release
number?
into Alex.
So it might be worth ringing them up or contacting them again in the morning.
Yes.
To say, look, this is happening, this is now, people are being, especially for like Tailgate, where if people are coming in with their tax returns and getting turned away, if the office managers to close, that would be good publicity locally.
What do we think are going to be the strongest Brighton ones?
Job centre.
If you're signing on or claiming any form of benefit, it's because you have a need. To say that they're customers and have a choice is actually a misnomer, because they have no choice. There is a backlog because the staff have already been cut before the volume of work has dropped. I believe that many of the public sector trade unions, if they haven't already faced these sorts of issues, will be facing these sorts of issues.
Hundreds of jobs being relocated to Wales, and we're facing enormous cuts and pay rise below inflation. We're expecting good support today. We've got good support in this branch. You know, we had an overwhelming mandate in our ballot, and we are getting very good support from our members.
Public services, save museum jobs, fight the cuts, support the PCS union, support the strikers on the picket line, bring them a coffee, it's cold out there.
We are out on strike today in the culture sector because the issues that affect the whole of the civil service particularly affect the culture sector, and particularly in relation to the funding crisis that we're experiencing and that we anticipate will get worse.
Quite a few people out today. We think of a different side of people were going in, and most people are very sympathetic. We're relocating soon to Coventry, so obviously we're hoping to find that as much as possible. People don't really want to go, they'd rather stay in London. We've been here all the time, so we'd like to stay put and keep our jobs here really.